go-kart is a very tiny car that doesn't have usually any sides or roof or anything. It's open.
How are you even normal after that? Like, what does that even mean?
We tend to think we have to do something a certain way, and we forget about that playful experiment that we used to do when we were children. Just in entrepreneurship, it is a mind shift that you need to make.
Welcome to Keep Hustling with. Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. #Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. And of course, now and always, keep hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Amy Hager. Amy, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
You're very welcome. We have a lot to jump into. Usually I begin with some snide remark about where the person is located in relation to New York, but I'm not going to do that today.
Oh, well, that was nice of you.
Thank you. I'm going to take the stereotypical jerk New Yorker out here. And I'm going to begin this episode by saying thank you. Thank you because your sacrifice, your husband served in the military, your family's sacrifice is one, and I know we'll have fun in this episode, but really it's one that I can't even imagine. The sacrifice of those who are in the military is one thing, but their families, the worry, the unknown, the life of total insanity, so that people like me can be in New York, act like a jerk to most people like you from Virginia, have an awesome podcast, The Studio Life of Freedom, 5 children who don't run for their lives, a proud serving Jew in a country and in a world where the world is insane. My gratitude and all of our listeners' gratitude to you, to your husband, and to your entire family knows no bounds. So really, thank you.
Thank you.
I bet you weren't expecting that out of the
I was not expecting that today.
Bang, people. You see what's going on here? I'm a little emotional, but it's the truth, you know. We have all this stuff. Okay. You know what? I'm doing it. Okay. Now we're out of the emotion. I feel good. I'm gonna wipe my eyes.
Give me the normal. Okay. I can handle that.
This is the normal New York Aaron. Okay. I'm not even sure we're gonna get to everything. I tell everyone, like, read the bio because like there's so much here. But I gotta start with this. Amy, I don't usually read parts of bios to begin, but I'm just doing it.
All right.
Amy's brand started since she was 9. I'm paraphrasing a little bit because I love this. And I quote people, I am not joking. I'm from New York. I don't even know what this is. As a go-kart racer, she had to go around town to get sponsors to pay for things like tires and gas. Take us to childhood go-kart. Like, this is this is a hustle we've never had on the podcast. So take us there and let's start with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, a go-kart is a very tiny car that doesn't have usually any sides or roof or anything. It's open. And
did you say roof?
Yeah. Like
there's
ceiling.
2 O's. Roof. God. Okay. Sorry. You asked for it. I'm giving it. Bang.
You are giving it. You are giving it.
It doesn't have a roof or a roof or any sides.
Exactly. And there's no seatbelts. And yeah, you drive in circles typically. Sometimes unless you're on a road course. No, because I mean, there's.
Wait, hold on. I'm not going to ask you your age.
Okay.
This is part of the Keep Hustling thing. We're not going to ask you your age, but I have a question.
Okay.
You say there are no seatbelts.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, certain things also didn't have seatbelts that now have seatbelts now. Do go-karts have seatbelts now? It's got to be. It's got to be. I'm in the insurance business.
I don't know. I feel like if you go to like one of those amusement parks, sure, but I can't see the professional ones having them. And the reason is if you flip your go-kart, you want to get away from that thing because otherwise you have like a few 100 pounds of metal, tires, gas, and a motor.
My Jewish mother never would have gone for this. So like, how does it what is it like? How do you get into that? And then how are you even normal after that? Like, what does that even mean?
Beautiful question. I don't know. But really, I grew up a motorhead. We lived in northern Iowa and we had snowmobiles, we had go-karts, we had dirt bikes. I mean, you name it. If it had an engine, I was going to figure out how to drive that sucker. And that's what got me into racing. My dad was really big into cars and he did stock car racing and such. And so there was a go-kart track like 30 minutes from our house. And we went for it and bought the crappiest go-kart imaginable from the guy who owned the Napa Auto Parts in town. And
We don't have
that's how
those
it
in
all
New York.
started.
We don't have those in New York. And
You know,
were you good? Like, did you win?
I won some, yes. I don't think I was like the all-star best racer ever. Otherwise, I probably would have been in NASCAR or something bigger.
Oh my God, that would have
But
been
I won.
sick.
I won our regional championship. Won quite a few races as a go-kart driver, and it was cool because it was a bunch of other 9-year-olds like me chasing each other in a circle
With their parents cheering them on.
with our parents cheering
Totally
on.
insane. Like, I feel like this is something that, like, modern helicopter parents like have no bit, like, they hate this. So
Oh my
I
gosh!
love the fact that at least you enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a good time.
so I'm jumping around here because I do want to talk a lot about your business, but I just want to, or your passion, I guess, your current passion. But I got to ask you, then there's something else in here about being a radio DJ.
Yep.
So I just want to paint the picture for people here, okay? Loyal listeners of the Keep Hustling podcast. Amy began her career as a go-kart racer. I'm skipping some stuff in the middle, and then there's just a line in here. Amy has been a radio DJ.
Yeah.
How do we get from go-kart racer to radio DJ, and then we'll
Yeah.
take the next part of the story.
It's pretty cool. There's a good trend line through all of this. So, in the town that I grew up in, there really wasn't much for kids to do after school. So we were starting a youth teen program where we could all hang out and not be hoodlums running around town. And so the local radio station was helping us do a fundraiser, and there was one of those amusement park type go-kart tracks in our town. So I challenged this guy who has to be upwards of 300 pounds, who's a radio DJ, to race against me, the local go-kart professional, and raise money for this teen center that we wanted. And so I was 12 or 13 at the time, and
Hustler.
put me on air. I talked a lot of smack to him, how I was going to beat him and all this, that, and the other. I did beat him. And then after the race, we had another
That's
really fun
because his go-kart couldn't
conversation.
move. He was 300 pounds. Like, you had the
Exactly.
whole thing leveraged.
And
You're basically a physicist.
yes, exactly. Like, I'm tiny and this guy's huge. And so and I said it's not fair to you because of your size and your weight versus my size and my weight. We'll have to do this in another way another day. And he was like, you're really good at this. Do you want a job? I was like, I'm 13, man. I'm not old enough to work yet. So as soon as I turned 14, I started working at the radio station, and I used to call in on Monday before I would catch the school bus to go to middle school and do the racing report. So whether it was the local races that we had going on or the NASCAR races or whatever it was. So I'd be on my phone that is plugged into the wall in my room doing my racing report, getting ready for school, and then I'd go hop on the school bus. And then that turned into me being the overnight person, and then I was a morning show person, and I'm not a morning person, so that was a bad connection there. But then I ended my career as the Drive at 5 person on a classic rock station, and my on-air name was Haley Fox, the Fox that Rocks, on River 105, and super duper fun. But literally, racing led me into radio.
It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sick hustle. I love it. I love that Fox the Rocks. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna get a little serious now. Your business is called the Joyful Business Revolution. You're passionate about the Joyful Business Revolution. I've taken a lot of heat when I started this podcast and being the Keep Hustling guy.
Yeah.
That the world is chasing what they call hustle culture. Many people associate hustle culture with burnout.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
I know you don't, and that's why I agreed to be on this podcast.
Thank you. There was someone, was it you? I don't know if it was you, because someone reached out to me and said, I reached out to someone to be on the podcast. Probably wasn't you, but this is a good story. Or was it you? And you said, and someone said, I'm against everything you stand for.
No,
and I was like, I don't even think you know what I stand for. Okay, so that's right. So, but what I want to get to is like, there has to be a certain joy when a person is in a person's profession.
Yeah.
And hustle culture, modern hustle culture, is not what Keep Hustling stands for. What Keep Hustling stands for is defining, and most importantly, when appropriate, redefining a person's hustle and not giving up and keep hustling.
Yeah.
Meaning, for me, and then I want to hear your theories on this or your feelings. And this is really what I want to discuss over the next, over the rest of this podcast, is that my biggest fear as
Hmm.
an entrepreneur, as someone who keep hustling guy, as someone who tries to inspire others to chase what I'm about to say, the fear is that there's this image, there's this picture that was shown to me when early on in my career of a guy who's pushing a rock up a hill and
Hmm.
he can't see the top. And right before he gets to the top, he quits. And when
Yeah.
they pan out, you see it's one more step. Didn't pivot, didn't take a break, didn't ask for help, didn't get a wheelbarrow, didn't do anything else like that, just gave up.
Yeah.
And to me, the greatest passion or the greatest drive of someone who believes in keep hustling is that persistent pays.
Mm.
It's that when dreams are in action, you never quit.
Yeah.
That's the lifestyle, that's the mindset that is keep hustling. And I believe in that. And I don't believe that that's hustle culture. I
Right.
actually believe that someone who burns out is the antithesis of keep hustling because they
Mm.
went to the wrong extreme. Now, it doesn't mean, by the way, that we shouldn't have, let's just be clear. I think you'll agree that in the joyful business revolution as well, people are going to have stressful days, people are going to have bad days, people are going to miss the sales,
Yes.
people are going to lose clients, people are going to be stressed. Because if it wasn't stressful, we'd be playing golf or riding go-karts all day, right?
Everybody would be doing entrepreneurship,
Right?
right?
But what do you say to the person who says there is no joy in entrepreneurship or there is no joy in
Mm.
hustle or Aaron's an idiot and there shouldn't be keep hustling because if you believe in keep hustling, then you don't believe in actually having joy, true joy in your
Mm.
life.
Yeah. And I think that the stereotypical thing around hustling is that you're doing things to just do and to burn out and not being strategic and thoughtful and figuring out the real alignment. And that's why a lot of people leave their corporate jobs. And so, yes, there's things in businesses that in business that we're not going to love to do, but there are ways to work around them. There's rituals that you can build, there's rewards that you can build. And I think that the one mistake I do see a lot of people do in business is they build a business a way someone else has told them they need to build their business. So therefore, now they are building themselves into a prison. And I'm like, if you're building a prison, you should have stayed at your corporate job. So when you can focus on how to build your business by using joy, by understanding what brings you joy, and throw the notion out the window that I need to build a business a certain way because that's how whoever you're idolizing or whoever you told you this says you need to build it. There are no two businesses that are ever the same. And there's no two ways to market, to have sales conversations, to serve people, to serve your customers. And the beautiful thing about business and about hustle is you get to decide how you want to do it.
I absolutely love that. And I'll tell you, so my father, he should rest in peace, used to lament that one of the biggest problems with the post-COVID not return to the traditional office setting
Mm-hmm.
is that I think you'll agree mentorship is incredibly important. But
Right.
one of the things that you don't have is the ability to select that mentor based on what speaks to you. Meaning, if you're a
Mm.
company, I'm in the insurance business, if you're working at an insurance carrier, let's say,
Yeah.
and you can see that when you're able to be in that environment, you're able to see that there's 10 people that made it to the 50 people that made it to the next level of management and 20 people on top and 10 people on top of that and 5 people on top of that and one person on top of that. And of the 20, 10, and 5 of those 35 people,
Mhm.
none of them are the same.
Yeah.
So the ability to say, not that the way that you did it was wrong and the way that she did it was right, but the way it speaks to me and the way that I'm energized and the way that I'm inspired.
Mhm.
That I think joy in business has to be directly connected to inspiration. And when you
Yeah.
lose that inspiration, that doesn't mean, and I want to be clear because I've gotten heat about this also. I am not saying that if someone has bills to pay, that they shouldn't work in a job that maybe they don't feel joy in, but their goal can be joy. And
Yeah.
by the way, that doesn't mean that even if you're in the joyous job, my dream job when I was a kid to play in the NBA, I promise you that the best NBA players have moments where their knees are hurting, they don't want to be on the airplane, they don't want to be away from their family, and everyone else is like, "Oh my God, this guy lives the dream." What do you mean?
Exactly.
And so
Yeah.
I think that it's like if you can continue to find that inspiration even in those moments, or let me say it better, when you're in those moments of difficulty, of rut, of getting close to that burnout,
Mm-hmm.
realizing that you have that North Star, that inspiration, that what you're driving to,
Yeah,
says this is a temporary stop moment.
exactly.
So what are some tips? And I don't usually get so practical, but let's do this. Let's have some fun. Let's talk through some tips on like someone who feels like that. I don't want to. I've often spoken about the person who jumps ship, or people who should jump ship that don't, or don't follow their dreams. Let's say that there's a person who feels that they're in the right position, in the right job, in the right career to feel joy, to feel fulfillment, but yet they're getting a little bit sidetracked. What are the tips to stay focused or stay on track when those difficult times come, or if you're starting to doubt your choices?
Yeah, I think one, making sure that you do build yourself around a community. And, sometimes our community is a community of complainers because something sucks. You want to make sure that you're building a community that really helps you see yourself as that higher thinker, of that forward thinking person, not the constant complainer. So make sure you surround yourself around people who are going to lift you up and who you get to lift up too when they have those bad days, because we're going to have those bad days. And I think a lot of business owners think, I need to figure this out on my own. I decided to do this entrepreneurship journey. Like, I can't rely on other people to do this for me. And I really don't find that to be the case. I think really being in a community is super duper important. And your community is going to grow and shift and change as you grow, shift, and change. And that is okay. And I think the other part to make sure that you're still finding joy in your business is to make sure that you actually have defined what brings you joy and why you're doing this business. A lot of times I'll see someone say, I want to make six figures this year in my business. And I'll ask, well, why that number? Why six figures? Well, I don't know. That's what everybody else seems to be saying. What are you going to do with that $100,000? Like, let's break it down. And, sometimes it comes down to, they're like, well, dang, I actually only need like 40K to do what I want, not 100K. And so I do think that being very clear on what brings you joy, why you are doing this, and, where are you going to spend the money? Where are you going to celebrate those wins? And the last piece is actually celebrate your wins. Little wins, big wins. I think celebrating every day to really help raise your own vibration and acknowledge what you've achieved, because again, you don't have that boss or that coworker or somebody to acknowledge that for you like you did when you were at a job. So you've got to do it yourself. And so what is your daily celebration? And there's going to be days where you're like, dang, I just survived the day and that is my celebration. But if that seems to be your answer over and over, I would take a pause and really reflect and dig a little bit deeper. There has to be other wins that you had throughout the day that you can celebrate besides just survival. And I think that mindset shift will really take you far.
Do you? I love that, and I would say, if I can add to that, and again, I have
Yeah.
thick skin. I'm from New York. Do you? So if I'm wrong, you can correct me. You're the expert, but I would say also make sure that all of the wins are not numbers driven.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
my goal is to help one person every day. That could be because they're in a bind and they need insurance. That could also be that they just have a simple question and I could help them. Let's just say that it's a goal.
Yep.
Or my goal is to make sure that I really put my head down and try my best, even if I don't make any sales and the sales are not the drivers. I think that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things about the Keep Hustling journey, is that very often people get caught up in quantifying, and you have to quantify
Yes.
and you have to have matrices in life, and many businesses need them.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a certain level of over quantifying and over matricizing that really gets people in trouble.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. And I think that, along with those number goals, those revenue goals, what is it that you want your day to be like? Do you want to have slow mornings where you're not speaking to another human until 10 a.m.? Or are you the type of person that loves to get up and jump right into it and have your day done by 6 a.m.? You get to choose. And I think the other thing too is you get to experiment. if you always have been that early riser because of whatever your job was, a great example, my husband was in the military. He's always been an early riser. And
I hate people like
as
that.
I'm like, I am not. But as we get the chance to shift and grow and change, we can test that out. Maybe try not getting up so early and just enjoying a lazy morning in bed, cuddling the cat, watching TV until 10 a.m., and see how you feel. And I think that as adults, we tend to think we have to do something a certain way, and we forget about that playful experiment that we used to do when we were children. And when we can bring more of that curiosity and questioning of, well, why do I do it this way? And not in a way of judgment, but in a way of, is there a better way that is more aligned, that would really actually make me a lot more happier every single day? Because you can make that choice, especially as an entrepreneur and as a solo business owner, as whatever it is type of business that you're creating. And then if you start attracting staff and team, when they see that in you, that you've made these conscious choices, that you are so much happier when you don't talk to anybody until 10 a.m. versus the once in a while that maybe you do an 8 a.m. meeting or something along those lines. I think that also helps set up the team to feel empowered that they are working for someone who is going to choose joy, choose the happiness of their customers, of their staff, that they're going to be reflective and create that culture that a lot of us really want to be working in. And as entrepreneurs, we have the opportunity to create those spaces for people who want to work and who want to be seen and honored differently.
100%. And I think I will say another piece. I agree with every single thing you said. And I think that part of it is people are scared to experiment because they think it's going to be permanent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an early riser.
Yeah.
I tried to speak over you when you said the thing about your husband. Like, I hate early risers,
I heard
but
you say
that's
it.
fine. But there was a time when like I really wanted to exercise and I felt like the morning was for me, and I tried it and it sucked. But
Yeah.
like that doesn't make me less of a person. I think that so often, especially entrepreneurs,
Yes.
they view like it's not the nuclear codes. Like literally nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen other than maybe your spouse will make fun of you and tell you that they told you that. Maybe your friends will, or maybe they'll be inspired, or maybe they won't. But it's like I feel like people put so much, often too much stock in a failure.
Right.
And then the flip side, as you said, celebrate the wins. They don't put enough stock in the wins
Yep.
and the
Exactly.
successes. So it's like if you're going to look at everything, every moment of your life as so grand and
Mm-hmm.
impactful, then you also have to look at the successes that way. And if you don't, then realize that it doesn't really matter if trying to get up in the morning doesn't work because you can figure
Right.
it out somewhere else. And so many people have failed. So I love
Yeah.
that. I want to ask you a different business joy question.
Okay.
We've spent a lot of time talking about the entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
What about the person who, at this point in their life, entrepreneurship is not for them? It may never be for them.
Yeah.
They're working for someone else. They may be trying to find a job. They may be in a new job. They're trying to figure out how that job can bring them joy, an old job, a new job. How, how do you speak to the person who realizes that the joy is not going to be the entrepreneurship?
Right.
And therefore, this is going to sound wrong, but like the joy is in someone else's success because someone else's success is their success because that person is the face of the brand, or the face of the business, the owner of the business, or the entrepreneur.
Right.
So, how do those people find joy? Maybe the non-traditional entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I mean, I have these conversations a lot, especially with friends. We do have some clients who don't have businesses. And I think that the key is to recognize where your strengths are in an organization, what you're bringing to the table, and then advocating for yourself to be able to use those strengths. And, I have a friend who is in government contracting, and her boss continues to bring things to her very last minute and is like, this is the deadline. You have 48 hours. Here you go. And she knows the boss has had it for a couple weeks. They've just been sitting on it, dilly dallying around, whatever it is. But all of a sudden, this is now a priority for her and landed in her lap. And when I unpack this with her, I ask, well, why do you think they can rely on you to get something done like that? She's like, well, I work really quick and, it's not hard for me to do it that quickly. It's just annoying. And I was like, well, instead of making yourself wrong for working quickly and therefore getting something within a 48-hour period to get it done, why aren't you celebrating that? And again, just in entrepreneurship, it is a mind shift that you need to make. What can I celebrate that I'm really good at that people do rely on me for? And when it is annoying, what do I need to say to myself so that that way I can operate from, I'm going to say this higher vibration and not be the Debbie Downer or the blah person all the time. And again, you're never going to be happy all the time, but I do believe joy is a choice. And so is being pissed all the time. And so if that's how you choose to operate, then that's how you choose to operate. But I think you can definitely find those joyful moments in the situations that are bad and really see like where are your strengths, and when you can advocate for those strengths and for those opportunities. And if you continue to get turned down, let's say for an opportunity or for something that you really want to do, don't be mad at the thing you can't control, which is that other person making the decision to turn you down. Celebrate the fact that you asked for that opportunity. That's what's worth celebrating.
What about the person who feels that they'll never find joy in their professional life?
I mean, that's a place to be in. And so again, I think that there probably are those joyful moments. You're making the choice not to recognize them. And if you can start doing something small once a week or something along those lines that helps you see that there are those good moments, then I think that's a game changer for you. You can also go find another job. And, that's a whole nother process too. So you have to ask yourself, like, where do you want to spend your time and energy? How do you want to show up in this world? And you get to make those choices. Again, if you want to show up angry at the world and hating your job, your choice, my friend. But if you want to show up knowing that, well, this isn't the right job for me, but it pays my bills. It allows me to have a beautiful home. It allows me to, put food on the table. Whatever it does allow you to do, sometimes we, again, don't give that stuff credit and don't celebrate it. So the mind shift is really, really important here.
Absolutely love that. And I think that everybody deserves to feel joy, even those people who don't think
Yeah.
that they'll never get there. So I think sometimes we sell ourselves short, and the world we live in is, especially those of us privileged to be in the United States of America in 2026, is so overprivileged, and life is so easy that we should be able to find joy.
Yeah.
Amy, you rock. This is so much fun. 12 lives. I never thought I'd get a go-kart racer, radio DJ, joyful person. So I love it. From Virginia, nonetheless.
Yay.
Amy, as you know, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote and what it means to their hustle. So with that, I'm going to once again say thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for inspiring me. Please send all the way from New York my best to your husband, to your family.
Thank you.
Our gratitude. And with that, I will turn the floor over to you.
Okay, so originally I was thinking a different quote, and then as our conversation went, I love the quote, "A rising tide lifts all boats." And I think when we can really look at life that way, and I had to Google it, I guess JFK has credit for saying that quote. If he said it originally, I'm not quite for sure, but that was my quick Google search while we were talking. But I think that's something that I've always really believed in. And I think that is what's really going to change the world when we can really see that a rising tide lifts all boats.
I absolutely love that. Amy, thank you again. This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always, keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.